Hey everybody, I'm Melissa New and welcome to this week's episode of Framed. This photographer has accomplished some pretty incredible things at his young age, taking portraits of some of the most successful celebrities. By combining his humor with his creativity, he has created a very unique style that portrays an honest style. He has even taken a photo of the legendary Annie Liebovitz. How? Let's find out.
I grew up in California, Santa Barbara. I moved when I was 7, so I can't tell you about the party scene there. But I lived in a really small town in Northern California called Lakeport. It was like 10,000 people. And then I moved up to Seattle in '99. So I've been here 11 years. I wasn't the cool kid, I wasn't the geek. I was kind of just a troublemaker. I got in a lot of trouble. Deep down, I was a good kid, but I had an attitude and I was really selfish. And I know I caused a few problems. So one year in college, I brought back my grandpa's old camera. And the only reason I did that is because I didn't have a camera or any pictures of my life. And so just probably for sentimental reasons, I thought it'd be really nice to have pictures of my friends, my life, just, for down the road. And so I started taking snapshots of friends. If we go out to eat, I'd take pictures and all that kind of stuff. And I went in, again, when I was home, I went into like Longstrug's lab and I took a roll of film in to get developed. And I went back to pick it up and this girl, she's like, actually, will you hold on a second? Somebody wants to talk to you. And I was like, now what did I do, The lab manager came out and she said, did you take all these? And I was like, no, show me the pictures, I don't know. Because I'm just so used to getting in trouble, I'm thinking I did something. And so she started thumbing through the pictures and she was showing me. She said, these are really interesting. Have you ever considered being a photographer? And I had no idea what that meant. I didn't even cross my mind that anyone got paid to take pictures, And so I took the pictures, I ran home, and I remember bursting through the door and I was like, I'm gonna be a photographer. And my mom said, let's just finish college first. But that was it. I just, I went back to school and I kind of skated by, but I was constantly researching, photography, just anything I could to learn about it and just take pictures. And that was the moment. It was very clear. And it's the same kind of thing as when I moved up to Seattle. Why did I decide that? I don't know. I think from the time I discovered I wanted to do photography, it was probably 5 or 6 years until I discovered what kind of photography I wanted to do. I did a lot of different kinds of photography, pretty much anything I could to pay the bills. But I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't that fun. And I started to realize and discover there's some people out there taking stylized pictures of people. And I've always enjoyed humor, but it became the one way that I could integrate my entire personality into being creative. And so I was able to integrate my humor because I enjoy humor, but I'm not a stand-up comedian. I'm not going to get on stage. But this was a way for me to just, be funny, I guess, in a way, or express something that I'm feeling. And as I discovered, the ability to integrate those parts of me into photography, that's when I started realizing the type of photography that I wanted to do. And so it took 6 years or so to find my style, a style that I was proud of, that excited me, that I knew this is how I want my work to look like.
And what is that style?
Simplicity is important to me. Drama is something I'm really drawn to, and also dry, witty humor. And so I don't have to always be taking, funny pictures. I think drama is the other side where I try to balance that out. But I think I always, for some reason, try to force a sense of an image being grand. I always go over the top with everything. And so, I don't know, that's probably the best I could describe it. I mean, photographing people is what I'm known for. I think photographing personalities, and also I think photographing people that in a way that's very genuine and honest. I think honesty is really important to me in a photographic sense. A lot of times if a photo just seems forced, or if it seems, I don't know, and it's hard to describe, but I can look at a photo and it either feels honest to me or it doesn't. And I hope that my work is honest. That's what I strive for. But yeah, I guess stylized portraits of people would be what I am probably known for. So the first award I won was 2 or 3 years ago. It was American Photography Award. And I had always looked at that competition. Like, all my favorite photographers are in that. And the first time I won was for my portrait of Annie Liebovitz. And that was just like, I was, ecstatic, standing on the table, like, just I couldn't believe it. And to flip through there, and I went to the party in New York, and to see all these photographers I respected there, and to have my work, like, alphabetically, I was like 2 pictures away from Annie Liebovitz, who was also in that competition. That was really, amazing, exciting. And then last year, I won again for a portrait of Sarah Palin, and it still blows my mind, like, because, I believe in my work and I love it, but it seems so fast. It seems like 3-4 years ago I was just dreaming, and now all of a sudden I'm getting calls and emails from these places that I used to dream about. And so this year I just got published in Communication Arts for the first time in the Photography Annual. That was a huge honor, as well as PX3 at Paris Photography Contest. They picked 7 of my images. It's a huge honor, and it's exciting because you put so much time and thought and effort into this work. And I know that people see it, but with the internet these days, you can publish it on a blog and maybe somebody will comment, but there's this disconnect. It's like, that's really exciting for me because I don't feel like I get that personal contact with people that often. And so it's just very humbling and gratifying to be recognized in that way. Like, I'm really proud of this picture, and it's nice that someone else thinks it's good too. Before I was doing celebrity work, I used to have these assignments that were just miserable and nothing went right. And I remember saying to Nichelle, man, I can't wait till I get the big time assignments so I shoot celebrities, because everything will be so easy and people will do what I want. But it's like, it couldn't be any different. Now working with celebrities, you have even less time, and you have even more people telling you they don't want to do something, or they don't want you to do this. And I think probably the biggest thing is just managing people and learning to communicate clearly. And there's a lot of psychology involved, and just planning with celebrities especially. So I did a shoot with Sally Field, and I had 30 seconds. She even told me, she's like, you have 5 shots. And so I had this whole elaborate idea in my mind, and it was definitely going to be longer than 5 shots. And okay, now all of a sudden she's standing in front of you, she wants to leave, and she tells you have 5 shots. So you have to decide, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to get something great in 5 shots, or how are you going to try to extend this?
Did you panic? I would panic.
I didn't panic. I had been doing it a little while at that point, so you just can't panic. Yeah. If you panic, it's over. So you just have to you almost have to go into it expecting that to happen, I think. Right. But you also have to realize, like, you do the best that you can, and sometimes you're going to leave the shoot and you're not going to have exactly what you planned. Sometimes it's going to be better than what you planned. Sometimes it might even be a little disappointing, but you just have to trust in yourself and do the best that you can. Because otherwise you'll just beat yourself up, because nothing's ever going to go exactly as planned. I started working for a local magazine, Seattle Met, and I was doing some portrait work for them, and they started a celebrity column. And I had a really good relationship with the art director, and he really liked my work, and he wanted to kind of start this column in that style. And so they started calling me for the celebrities. And really it's taking that body of work, whatever you can get, and leveraging it. I think that's really important, not just in photography, but any business, is leveraging what you have to get to the next step. And so I started using those pictures that I got to try to get more work like that, and it just kind of built and steamrolled. And but it's also, once you have something, it's putting yourself in positions to succeed and to get that next one.
So let's talk about some of the celebrities, just because I'm sure people see your work and say, wow, how was it to work with so-and-so? Right. First, the one that sticks out and the one that's sitting in your office that is completely amazing to me as a photographer is Annie Liebovitz. And I mean, how was that to work with her?
It was. It goes without saying, it was exciting.
Yeah.
It was kind of also just. It was the one time, or the first time at least, where I was completely aware of who I was photographing as I was taking the pictures. Usually, you see a celebrity and you get a little excited, but then you start working, and it becomes shapes and colors and light. But as I was taking her picture, I just kept thinking, wow, I cannot believe I'm looking at Annie Liebovitz through my camera.
Yeah.
But I was photographing, how I got the job was I was photographing John Waters, he wrote Hairspray. And he shared a PR rep with Annie for a project she was working on. And she was talking about Annie and her book At Work that was coming out at the time. And I just said, I would love to photograph her. And she was like, well, she doesn't really let people take her portrait anymore, but that would be something, wouldn't it? And we talked about it for a couple minutes, and that was that. And then a couple months later, I got an email from her, and she said, would you like to photograph Annie? And I said, absolutely. Are you kidding me? And I mean, that just goes back to, like, I wonder if I hadn't have said that, would I have gotten that call? And she said, well, okay, they need to review your portfolio. And so Annie or her people or somebody looked at my work, and then a couple days later I got a call and they said, we looked at your photography and Annie would love to sit for you. So I had like a month at that time, and so I made myself just forget about it. And we went on, because we were going on vacation. I was like, I can't ruin vacation, like,
right.
Freaking out about this. And so when we got back, about 3 or 4 days before the shoot, I started thinking about it and researching it and everything, and finally came to this decision. I started off doing something grand, and I think I was working outside of myself. I was trying to probably do something more along the lines of what she would do. And then thankfully I realized I'm not doing anyone any favors by doing this. I mean, it's going to be a bad picture, and it's not going to be something I'll be proud of. And then you have to realize what is reality. And the reality is we're probably going to be in a hotel room, and we're probably going to have 10 minutes. So there's not going to be time for this elaborate set or something, on a different location. So I decided to just do something simple, like on studio paper, and rather than try to get a bunch of stuff, like focus on getting one really great image you can be proud of. And that's what I ended up doing. And it ended up being different than I planned, and a lot of that came from her improvising and kind of collaborating with me. And I just decided, okay, I'm not going to fight her, but like, let's see what she does, because the idea I had, she was so fidgety and moving around, and so I thought, okay, I'll let her move. And then she was really expressive, and so working with that, we got that one image. And so
kind of describe your thoughts of, here this woman has taken so many photos. I mean, were you nervous that she was judging everything that you were doing?
I wasn't. I think because she was so gracious, she didn't really come across that way. So I wasn't thinking about it, actually. But really, it goes. I mean, you have so little time with these people usually. Like, you don't have time to think about anything like that. Like, it's just the task at hand. Like, what do I need to do to get this picture? And you might be thinking about it before or after, but you're really not thinking about those kinds of things while you're shooting, or you're wasting your precious minutes.
That's right. So. Name a few other people that was really fun for you to work with.
Anthony Hopkins was like a thrill for me. I really, really admire him, and he was one of the first celebrities I photographed. So I was just kind of in awe. Tim Gunn, Andy Samberg, Sarah Palin, Dennis Haysbert, Paul Casey. I love exactly what I'm doing. I think if I was taking pictures even of something else, I would not love my job. I'm not happy if there's a camera in my hand. I think I'm happy if I'm creating what I want to create, which is thankfully what I am creating, and I love that. It's easy to look at other people's work, or see a job that's maybe regional, or someone you really wanted to work with, or even a job from a specific art director that and they gave it to someone else. It's easy to get jealous or be frustrated. I could have done that, or I really wanted to do that. And so that's definitely something I struggle with from time to time, and I do different things to try to avoid those situations, or just be better about being secure in what I have done and enjoying that, and not worrying so much about what other people do or what they're going to be working on. But it's a competitive industry, and I've had jobs that I was talking to clients about, and they verbally locked me in, and then they ended up giving it to someone else, and then they called me about references for a crew or something, and it's like that kind of stuff can be frustrating, and it's easy if you let that build up in your mind. It's easy to take it personally and get mad, but then you just have to get over it, and you have to enjoy what you do and believe in what you do and be confident in that, and you just have to let that stuff go, or it will just eat you up.
My dad was a photographer.
Oh, wow.
I grew up doing darkroom work as a kid. That was like my chore. So I never wanted to do anything with photography. I went to school for painting.
Wow.
Which was.
So you're a true artist.
I mean, I guess I was the one kid in class that hated people getting up at critiques saying, I was there when they created it. They did this thing last minute, just like I did. But then they get up and they say, "Whoa, this is my soul." Up here. I'm like, no, that's your last 4 hours of time when you didn't sleep and you had nothing. Anyway, but getting out of school, the painting degree, like everyone else, what are you not going to do to make money?
Yeah.
And I happen to have a friend that worked in advertising, and I don't know, the painting degree and then the photography background just sort of married perfectly in the middle of retouching. So
how do you know John?
We know each other through a mutual friend. I moved to Seattle and we just sort of met and just hit it off. And not only we are colleagues, but we're also really good friends. It's a great partnership.
So let's talk about how you work with John.
Just in general?
Sure. I mean, are you guys considered partners? It's kind of like you collaborate together.
Well, a lot of the way we work together, and it didn't initially start this way. It was a giant learning curve, and luckily we worked on some really good learning curve projects from the get-go. But it was about we both sort of got these things that neither one of us had ever tackled before, like
Sure.
water or I don't know, crazy dogs going all over the place. I can't think of another example, but it was a good way for us to figure out how each of us works in different mediums that we're not used to. But then also the idea would change because he and I would realize that, this initially you thought we couldn't do, now we can, and we can do it actually for much less money. I have a picture here. This is we call this Browntown, and I'll quickly talk about sort of why we made some of the decisions we made.
Okay.
So let me go back to the very initial build. So when
Holy layers.
Oh yeah, layers of my life. So this is the initial plate. I can't remember if it was before or during that we realized that there was a lot of stuff that we didn't need to do, but one of the things that John and I concentrate a lot on is how do we efficiently use our time.
Yeah.
And a lot of that deals with having a clear vision from the beginning. And so because he and I work so well together, we understand the sort of the obstacles of the project before we approach the project. And so with this one, for instance, you've got 2 dogs, you've got people who are reacting to the dogs not behaving well and all these things. So, it's more about okay, let's capture the right pieces. Let's not concentrate here. Once we know we've got that.
And what did you want to concentrate on?
For instance, in this one, this bottom plate that we're using as the hero, we're concentrating on just Robin, which is the husband, and the dog he's got in his hand.
Right.
We're not looking at Jenny or her dog because we're never going to get the perfect shot in one image with dogs. You can, but it's going to be kind of a really tough thing. So the next thing we did was we wanted to get the right plate of her. And so we found one of her that we liked a lot and then fused those pieces together. So now we've got 2 perfect wholes or 2 perfect halves to make a whole.
Right.
So we've essentially achieved the perfect shot through multiple shots.
Right.
And then this is a lot of, I'm just going to basically build back up a bunch of layers.
Oh, so even the dog you composited in. Huh?
Right, because you've got these 2 dogs, and this is all logistics of a lot of what we do. It's this initial image could have been captured in camera, but it was much better use of our time to just think, let's just concentrate here, and there's no need to find a brown chair. We can make that, and there's no need to find pictures to put on the wall. We can just make that.
Sure.
And a lot of that has to do with since John and I have established this great relationship, he's very comfortable with me helping steer the ship in certain places to say, your idea can be achieved this way, and in turn he does the same to me. He's like, well, this is how I would do this, and then so we kind of really well merging and melding.
Yeah.
And And so I'm just going to sort of slowly turn things back on.
Yeah.
It's all about like a build. So we kind of are looking for that perfect just hero build before we start to style anything. So basically I'm just turning on all the stuff that I have titled build, because essentially, and this deals with like skin styling and just overall getting the best possible.
Like her lips changed and her...
We've sculpted skin a little bit to sort of achieve a look that John really likes to see in his images, and it's more about like I think a lot of people think about retouching as a way to sort of like destroying an image or not destroying but devaluing it, because it's like, well, I took this picture and now you're going to do it, so it's not my work anymore, so I don't want you to do it. But John is really good at knowing that it does add value, and it's about bringing out the best of everything.
Right.
So it's
you enhance a photo.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Enhance it, and like all the heavy lifting is done, by him. I'm just there to sort of help, like, bring out.
Enhance both of your guys' vision, maybe.
Right. And so so this is where we have made the background the dark that we wanted, using the hero color of Robin's suit is the brown we enjoy.
So that makes them stand out more, doesn't it?
Right. And then when you start to build, we basically created all these elements in the background as separate pieces, so that we can sort of layer. I don't know if you can see it, but we were able to take all these pictures, and by making them all separate, we can move them around to find the best use of the space. Like what made the space feel more realistic, and then we also that's not a good one. And then once we had all that built in, and now we've got our room. It's about now we need to make everything else brown.
Close.
So this is the final, and this is after again this shot could have easily been captured in camera with the perfect shot with a few stylistic things done to it, but we knew that to sort of bring the story that we wanted to tell without having to do a lot of teeth pulling, then we just shot everything separately. So in the end, this look that could have been shot in camera, it was like, 15 different elements or more put together. And then it kind of like goes to like what I like to think of myself in being the gigantic squid is like, everyone knows it exists, but no one's ever seen one. So the mark of like a good retoucher is to not know that was there.
Gigantic squid. Right. That's your name of your company.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
And that way, like, no one looks at that and goes, well, he had a retoucher. It's more of like, look at this person's work.
That's right. So it's, you enhance it.
Right. Because I want the collaboration to be, and the image itself to be the hero, not the post-production to it.
Right. Wow, that's cool.
So we have some twins tonight, and we're gonna try to play with the idea of like an alter ego. So one of them is going to be kind of your everyday, normal kind of guy, or maybe even slightly like insecure, and his ninja self is gonna be whipping him into shit. So.
Awesome. And then you usually keep it simple with lighting. So what are you doing with this setup?
I don't really know what I'm doing. I think I've been internalizing lighting a lot more lately, and so what that's meant is I just don't think about it as much as I used to, and I used to always try to use as many lights as possible, and now rather than thinking about the lighting I use, I'm thinking more about what I want the image to look like, and that pretty much dictates how many lights are needed to do it.
Sure.
So we may end up just using one by the end of the night, but I have 3 set up here because I think that kind of goes along with the idea I have in mind. But a lot of times I'll set things up and I'll just I'm very visual, so I have to sometimes just see something, and the idea I thought was really great might end up being like, not exactly what I wanted. So
you kind of experiment and
exactly
comes out however the heck it comes out.
Exactly.
That's why you're so brilliant.
Well.
How do you guys know John?
We met in college.
Yeah? So tell me your names.
My name is Les.
Les and
my name is Brandon.
Brandon.
Yeah.
And you're twins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you
well
tell?
Done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're the outgoing one.
I try to be.
And you're the pensive model today. Right? He's
Yeah.
the shy one?
Yeah,
Oh, he's
acting.
acting.
Yeah.
And you guys are actors, right?
It's a craft.
It is a craft.
It's a craft
It's
that
a
you have
symphony.
to study. Yeah, it's a symphony.
So you guys have acted in, tell me kind of your resume. What do you guys do?
Oh, wow. Well, very quickly, right after college, we actually moved down to Hollywood. Not a joke. This is for real. And after doing, being professional background artists, we got an agent, and this young one over here, he did an Axe commercial. That was on their website. Hey, that's kind of cool, right?
That is cool. Cool guy.
Yeah, and then, cool. Yeah, so that was kind of that was the top. It was all downhill from there. Came back.
We started working with John.
I know. I was like, we came back. And John, he started calling.
All right.
I think it's gonna be a real fun romp.
A romp?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna leave this romp. I'm gonna go over here. Good luck, guys. Good luck.
We're gonna give it our best. John, maestro, conduct the symphony. Okay. Take a stare.
All right. Perfect. Alright, now you're gonna yell at him this one.
You've got your Hasselblad. How do you even say it? How do you say it?
Hasselblad?
Is that right? Did I say it right?
I don't know. I have no idea. I could be saying it wrong for all I know.
I could too. I'm a sweet German. So
yeah,
what lens do you like to use?
This is the 50. I use pretty much two lenses. I use the 50 millimeter or the 80.
Okay.
And in 35 millimeter, I think the 50 is actually more like a Canon 35.
Yeah. Okay.
And the 80 is more like the Canon 50. So
yeah.
It doesn't translate exactly. But those two lenses, usually if I'm doing something close up, or if I just want a little more compression, I use the 80. But
yeah, because you're pretty close to them right now.
Yeah, so I really wanted to add depth to it, and so I want to feel like you're right up close, like, and especially with the Hasselblad, if you do these wide lenses, like there's very little distortion, so you can be really close without getting that distortion. It makes you feel like you're kind of more a part of the image as opposed to like a bystander from a further distance.
So can we see some of the stuff that you've already shot?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's definitely, I'm trying to keep it kind of
Can
dry.
you scoot over to
Yes. Can you guys not see?
Do you want me to just...
Hold on.
So you can see kind of...
Is this okay?
Here, you can see it.
Yeah. Hold on, just spinning.
Can you see it? Don't pull your face in place. It was just like more with your eyes, open eyebrows up.
I see what you're doing. Alright.
Here you gotta lean, stay room, almost like you're like, yeah, but keep your chin out towards me a little more. You're yelling past me. Perfect. That's a wrap. Good. So these are prints from a trip I took in Liberia this last January, and there's a company called Mere Bottles who hired me, and every bottle they sell, they provide clean drinking water for one person for a year. And so this trip, they built their first 2 clean water wells. And so we took a crew over there, and I took pictures of the wells and just of the people, and also not only the wells that they built, but also the wells that people are currently using over there. So the whole idea was to raise awareness and also to kind of help advertise and market what Mirror is trying to do. But obviously on a trip like this, you have so much time. So I just had a ton of... I can open some of these up too. I had a ton of freedom to just take pictures, of whatever I wanted. And so this one, I actually just got in the car, so I was in the passenger seat. And as we were pulling out, they just run along with you, as you're leaving. And
so this was shot from the car?
Yeah, from the car. We were just starting. There was like a little, blur in some of it. But this was a really, for many reasons. I mean, I did a lot of things that I don't normally get to do on this trip. I mean, normally everything I do is so produced and stylized and lit, and so a lot of these are just natural light or just reflected light, and this was all natural. And I really enjoy that, like, there's imperfections in these, like, and everything's not, like, perfect, and so.
But it's a moment that was special to you.
I love, this is pretty much every road in Buchanan, the town in Liberia where we were, is just dirt road like this. And the second place where Mir was building a well was this place called Zinc Camp, and it's just on the side of this road, and you can see, like, this cloud of dust. There's all these foreign corporations that drive these huge trucks through just like 80 miles an hour down these roads, and they just kick up. You can see, like, the plants are all brown.
Right.
It's just from dirt, and so.
Wow, it's gorgeous.
But we did a few things, and then this truck came by, and so you have to run off the road, and then this particular one was right after the truck went by. It just kind of worked out. So.
He is popping out of that picture. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Were you emotionally affected after going to someplace like this?
In the sense, it's hard to be in a situation like this where you're not affected in some sense.
So how did it affect you?
I think the first thing was when we got there, some locals gave us a tour of some local communities and the wells that they drink from, and they showed us the water that they drink from, and it's just disgusting, like things growing out of it. It's like green or brown, and there's like dead animals in there, and they just drink from that every day. And my first thought was, well, I wouldn't drink from it, right? Like, I would not drink from that. Like, it's just, they just don't know better. But it was the weirdest thing to think through that thought process and realize you don't have a choice.
There's no choice.
Like, I'm so used to choosing anything. I'm like, if there's something I don't like about my life or my situation, I can change it.
Right.
But it's so weird as an American to think about being in a situation you have no control over.
Right. Wow.
And so that was the first thing that really hit me. And just the more I learned and met and talked to people throughout the week, I was definitely affected by the people who want to make a difference in Liberia but don't have the means or the resources. And so that's what started to kind of touch my heart and make me think, well, what could we do beyond just like Band-Aids? There was another situation where we were in this place where women were just breaking rocks all day in the sun. It's like so hot, and they're just chipping rocks to sell as gravel. And so I thought, well, could we buy them an umbrella? And one of the locals said, well, who's gonna take care of the umbrella? And I didn't understand what he meant, but he said, I'll have to come out here once a week and make sure they still have it. Probably they'll sell it and get $1 or something, or maybe someone will steal it. And he's like, even where are they gonna put it at night when they're sleeping? Like, that's an issue. Thinking about what can I do that's not a Band-Aid. The CEO of Mir Bottles and myself are starting a new company, and it's gonna be a product-based company, and 50% of all the revenue is going to sustainable projects in Liberia. So we're not giving money to anybody. We're not giving somebody a handout or a product or a gift. I think that there's a lot of companies that like just give gifts, but it's the same thing as the umbrella. They can be sold, they can be taken, they can be stolen, and they don't really give people a sense of like responsibility or ownership. And so we are looking to invest into programs or like things like schools. So we're not going to just give somebody money that they can run with. We will invest in the school, but locals have to build the school. Locals have to be running the school and teaching in the school. We're not going to send Americans to, do all the work. Like, it's got to be people who have that desire in themselves to work and to make a difference in their community, and that's something we completely support.
So, hold on. You're a father.
Yeah.
You're a photographer. You're starting a new company that is giving back, but you're educating people in charitable ways. Where are you finding time for all this?
That's a good question. I'm trying to find that time, I think, to do it all. But we're just kind of figuring it out as we go. And there's days that are harder than others, and there's weeks that get frustrating and I feel overwhelmed. But we're definitely learning to try to be responsible and take advantage of time when we have it, and also to work with others. I'm not doing it on my own. There's a lot of people that are involved in this. My wife and my daughter are so important to me, and I think before anything else, I want to be known as someone who fought for them and someone who loved them with everything I have. And I guess, I mean, going back to honesty, I want to be someone who's honest, someone who is kind to others, and someone who created work that hopefully people enjoy. So, I mean, it sounds so cliche, but you know, obviously we all want to be valued for what we do, or we want to have a sense that what we're doing is important. And I'm not going to say that I want my work to change the world. I mean, I think that's such a broad statement, but I want my work to be relevant, and I'd like it to be relevant for a long time. And I'd like anything else that I'm doing to be of value to other people. I just love creating, and I love photography, and photography is one way that I can create, but there's a lot of different ways that I can be creating different things, and I'm just really falling in love with that process of creating. And so it's been exciting to kind of open my mind up a little more beyond photography and integrating that with video or business that's helping people in other countries or even locally. So that's a little vague, but that's, you know, my goal is to always be moving forward and never sitting still, I guess, and whatever comes at me as I'm moving forward, I'll embrace. My name is John Keatley. I'm a photographer and director, and I've just been framed. And so have you. We've both been framed.